Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cocktails and Rocktails with me, your most notorious groupie, Allison Rouse, author of We've Got Tonight, this little guide, these little books as well, where you can get that. My funny as fuck merchandise down in that link tree in the description. So hit that link, go check it out, have a good laugh. And as always, thank you guys for all the love, all the support, the friendships, the family. How amazing we are here. I know I've been slacking lately, but just been busy and sick and everything. It's like this domino effect. So hopefully over the next month or so, everything is going to calm down. I can get back to normal. But I love everything that you guys bring to me, the conversations that we're all having, whether it's together amongst yourselves. You guys rock. It's so awesome to see all this here. I absolutely love it. And you guys, the family we have here, thank you so much to everybody. And speaking of everybody, today you saw my little paperback. What does it mean when we have the paperback? Could it be a reading? Because this is one that I did an episode on this a long time ago. And I haven't talked about this or this band for a long time. And this New Year's Eve, 89 into 1990. Because so many things happened along the way. You just signs everywhere, the signs. So today we're going to have a little reading, and we're going to be finishing up this little beer right here, our local Saltfire, doing a tribute to our local heavy metal shop. Like I said, Google heavy metal shop, look at the pictures, and you will see rock stars of all kinds in one of their t-shirts or their hoodies. They've branded themselves beautifully. So, all right, everybody, grab your heavy metal, kick up your feet, and let's have a little cocktails and reading. Cheers, big ears. I love this because it is a dark lager, so it's got that nice crispiness, a slight sweetness, but it's got that kind of bold richness to the, what do you call it, to the flavor. So, all right, here we go, you guys. This is about December of 1989. Right before the first time Danny and I went up to Seattle when grunge was being born. Before Alice in Chains had just got signed, but we'll talk about that in another episode. I've talked about that a couple times, and I think I did the reading, but yeah, I mean, definitely talked about Danny and I's first time in Seattle in another episode a couple times. But this is the New Year's Eve, 1989 into 1990, that we went down to LA to meet up with Dangerous Toys. Love them. They're still touring. Scott D. Wayne Dalhover. Anywho, still not Salt Lake, Scott. You guys still, Dangerous Toys needs to book your asses up here. You always had fun in Salt Lake. I'm in Salt Lake. Come on, motherfucker. Love ya. Anyway. Scott will get that. Alright, Danny and I boarded a plane to Los Angeles, our patent leather jackets tucked into the seats between us. Hopefully, if we were lucky, no one else would board and take our little haven away. And with the layover in Las Vegas, who knew how far we could get? But forget all that. I was really trying to get to Scott and his band Dangerous Toys. We had made plans because we had talked about, I don't know if we were in Arizona when we had met up with Dangerous Toys one time or in Salt Lake City. But they were talking about, it was right before New Year's, and we were hanging out with them and was talking to Scott and Eddie Javaruska, who worked for them and stuff. Hey, Eddie. Anyway, but having a discussion about them. They're like, yeah, you guys should come down for New Year's Eve. We were like, okay. So we booked tickets and hotels. Like, we were at the Holiday Inn on Hollywood and Vine, which, if you've ever seen the Blast from the Past movie with Brendan Fraser? Anyway, and Alicia Silverstone. That's the hotel he's staying at. And Dangerous Toys was at the Hollywood Palm, which was just a block up on Hollywood and on Vine from there. So that was kind of, we had talked about it. We're like, okay, we'll meet you in LA New Year's Eve. Cool beans. And we talked to them a few times before, and they told us where they were staying. We called them when we got in, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Little background on the chapter. So we had made plans. I really don't remember how, but I know phone calls were involved to be in La La Land for the end of the decade. It was what two groupies from the great rock and roll paradise thought was the best way to say adios to the 80s, and subsequently the sunset music scene forever. A groupie friend, the girl that had informed us of the Tub Tarts, Shara, had been with the other guitar guy from Dangerous Toys, Danny, who's no longer in Dangerous Toys. Now it's Paul, who used to be in Dirty Looks and knows me from Henrik. Rock and roll, it's very, very, it's a big family. We're incestuous. What can I say? And not like that. That sounded so bad. We just all switch, groupies, they jump from band to band, and so do the musicians. So, and not in a bad way, because we love our musicians. So it was what two groupies from the great rock and roll paradise thought was the best way to say adios to the 80s and subsequently the Sunset Strip music scene forever. A groupie friend, the girl that informed us of Metallica's Tub Tarts, because yes, Metallica ladies, it happened, had been, not with Danny and I, that's how we found out about it. Shara, who was washing Kirk down, told us all about it. So, okay, anyway. So, she had been with the other guitar type from Dangerous Toys, Danny, and was meeting us in LA as well. She had moved to Seattle. She was the reason we went up there. And so she had moved to the Northwest, Seattle, and the new and upcoming music scene there was about to explode. Not that she was that hip and followed the music trends. Oh, no. It was because she was still living at home with her mother and her mother took her there to Seattle. We had been keeping in contact and were curious of the new boys flittering out of the Emerald City. But back to our yellow brick road. Danny and I all arrived happy and ready to rock the decade away, as did some other roadie guy as well. Apparently, Shara had invited him as a backup to Danny, the guitar player. Ladies, it does not matter if it's a roadie or a rock star. We're all part of the rock and roll family. Just don't let him cross paths. Oh my God. And if a roadie's working for a band that you're sleeping with then you're going to have to choose. But don't fly one down. Don't tell one to meet you in LA when you're going to meet the guitar player of another band. That's just stupid right there. And it made her all pissy and jelly because she shot her own self in the foot. And I don't mean that as a physical way, that, proverbial thing. Anyway, stupid little girl. Apparently, Shara had invited him as a backup. How the hell was there even supposed to be a first choice with the second guy unknowingly hanging out in a hotel room down the hall? This girl would not last much longer in the backstage world with mistakes like that. Anyway, we ignored it as it wouldn't affect Danny and I, not our monkey, not our circus, and made our way to the Holiday Inn on Hollywood and Vine. We couldn't get rooms at the band's hotel, the Hollywood something or other, a block away. Plus, they were still room sharing, and Scott's current roomie was not having us going at it in the same room as him. So, the Holiday Inn it was. The three of us got settled into a room, and I called Scott to let them know we were here. Shara ran off down the hall to be with her other roadie guy, only to be pissed she would miss Danny and blame him for not seeing her the whole time. Because like I said, what is she going to do? This roadie guy is all over her. If I have the picture, I'll put it up here. He's expecting to hang out with her when you visit your friends out on the road. You're together 24/7. That's what he's expecting. We're not expecting her to be in our room. You're going to be in his room, right? No, she was like chaos and fucking heels. So, her face was planted on the roadie guy. How was Danny ever supposed to get his tongue into all that? No, thanks. Not my drama. The strip was full of willing doormats. I am sure that Danny could find one there. An old friend from the Death Angel crew that had visited Salt Lake City earlier in the year came by and said hello while Danny and I were waited to go play on the boulevard. That was Sean Mulvey. Hey, Sean. From he worked with Dark Angel, who we kicked your asses in a squirt gun fight. Prove me wrong. I have the pictures. No, I'm kidding. So Sean had come to visit us in our hotel room because he was living in L.A. before he moved up to Seattle because he met his beautiful wife, Pearl. So, okay. An old friend from the Dark Angel crew that had visited Salt Lake City earlier in the year came by and said hello while Danny and I waited to play on the boulevard. The time was getting late, and finally Scott and Eddie Javaruski showed up to our room. Because Danny wasn't with anybody in Dangerous Toys, so Eddie was just, we were friends, still friends with Eddie. He does all the t-shirts you guys see at the concerts. Eddie's one of the higher-ups that coordinates all the tours for those guys. So, okay. After some time spent alone with our guys, Danny and I made the plans for New Year's Eve. Dangerous Toys were opening for the cult, and we could have gone, but decided to either hit the Rainbow or another friend's house. We wanted to see the guys play, but had also seen them play plenty and would again. LA won out over the guys, and we made our plans to meet up after the band got off stage. We all finished off the first night with dinner, and of course working it off with Scott. Scott and I had a lot of fun. He good like that. Another great thing about him is Scott was not a drinker. He was sober. He never had a whiskey dick. Well done, you, Scott. I love that about you. Go all night long. Anyway, the guys went to the gig the next day while Danny and I nursed a pissed-off Shara back down from a hissy fit. She was dangling on the jealousy line because Danny and I were hanging out with the band and enjoying our little groups. She was left alone with the roadie she invited along. Duh. We got ready slowly and finally made it out the door to our friends for a little hardcore metal party time before Danny and I had to report back to the hotel. Which was this guy from Salty Dog. He was the lead singer, his girlfriend. We just sort of met him. And they're like, yeah, come. And they lived around from our hotel in this little studio. Like, you opened up these closet doors and there was the kitchen. And then there was a bathroom and the studio in between. It was a cute little place for the time, And really, really nice people. Super cool people. Salty Dog was an LA band that was really good that I wish would have made it a little further. All right. So, Danny and I were sober enough to arrive back at the hotel, tiptoeing in our stilettos and able to answer the phone when the boys called. Because we were trying to get past Shara in the roadie's room without Shara hearing us. But what we didn't know, when Shara was in her room earlier that day, her little fucking ass pulled some shit. So, okay. So, we were waiting for we were there and ready and able to answer the phone when the boys called, which should be any minute now. Shara and her roadie friend had stayed behind to have their own party, but little did I know that she had also turned the volume off on the phone in an attempt to make Danny and I miss the band. Like a bitch. This is before cell phones, and yeah, she turned it off, and yeah, I think I probably say it here. I immediately, and it almost worked. Had I not been anxiously looking at the bedside telephone again and again between drinks, knowing that the guys should have called soon enough after we walked in the door. So all of a sudden when I looked down, the red message light was suddenly going off on the phone. Because back in the day when your hotel phone, you have a message, and you can still do this, there's a little light that blinks. So the red message light was suddenly going off. I immediately picked up the phone and turned it over to see that the switch was off and flipped it back. I hurried and listened to the message. It was Scott. He had called a half hour earlier, but thanks to that bitch, Shara, who was playing the oopsie game, she was like, oh, whoopsie, I think I did that earlier. I didn't mean to. Yeah, you did, you fucking bitch. You meant to do that. Because if we weren't going to have fun, she wasn't going to have fun. Yeah, fuck you. But okay. So, I had not been able to hear the ring, and lame, Shara, real lame. I called Scott and told him we were on his way to their hotel. Danny and I walked out of the room without a word. We should have learned our lesson about that girl right then and there, but we would keep trusting her, and within weeks of returning from this trip, we headed up to the grungy Northwest and into the unknown upon her invitation. Anyway, back to today. Danny and I spent the first hours of the new decade in the same manner we had left it in, happy and in some rock and roll beds. That would be one thing that would not change in the new years to come. Rockers had been my most trusted constants so far in my young life. I was dependent on their existence and didn't care where it led me. It had led me on some really great adventures so far, so I stopped now. But now it was a time to get back on the plane, back to chilly Salt Lake City. The band had left the day before along with Shara. Danny and I had spent our final hours chewing on pizza at the Rainbow and laughing at the back lounge Betty's the Sunset Strip had to offer. Yeah, we were easy, but we actually gave chase to the rockers and made them tag us. Not to mention, we wouldn't fuck just anybody like these girls seem to do. We had the intimate connections of being road dogs with the boys, and the life that happened there was something completely different than what was bending over for all the world to see in the unlocked kitchen bathrooms at the Rainbow. These girls were textbook cases of airheaded Cali girls willing to do anything for a shot of fame, much like we talked about the decline of Western civilization. Very, very epitomized. So Danny and I were just happy to get back to Salt Lake City and the scene, where camaraderie ruled and the rules applied to this whole sense of debauchery by both the rockers and the groupies. We liked the chivalry that went on in our world. The guys paid for our drinks without bumming money off the girl, and they just got to blow them under the table, as we had seen in L.A. They opened our doors instead of coolly walking through first, as to be seen, and actually used our number when they asked for them, instead of giving it to the bartender. It was official. The left coast was off my list of future rock and roll homes. I wanted to be adored, not whored. The 80s were ending, and so was the easy attitude of the real groupies around my town, meaning our group of girls had come to expect more from the boys. We expected friendship, and got it. But before Danny and I could get back to our little rock and roll court, we had another layover in Vegas. This time, the plane would be delayed a few hours due to the heavy snowstorms back in Salt Lake City. That was not unusual, so Danny and I warily headed off to find the airport bar. It was then that I would be given that warning glimpse thingy I talked about earlier. As Danny and I went about the moving sidewalks, we saw two leather jackets and black cowboy hats coming our way. One had big frizzy brown hair peeking out from his hat, and the other had a long blonde English attitude under his. How cute! Matching rocker boys, I thought to myself. Danny and I giggled at each other before we said hello to none other than Fred Curry, who was one of the leather jackets we had been eyeing. Who was one of the boys underneath the leather jacket and cowboy hats we had been eyeing. We had both hung around his band Cinderella, and she had been with one of the other members. As she conversed with the drummer, and I was kind of looking around, his friend was creeping me out. He kept looking at me as if he was fucking me in his head and wanted to eat me for breakfast. And that was probably what was happening in the vast space under the black cowboy hat. Fred turned to say hello to me and introduced me to the drooling man. Allison, this is Steve Jones, Fred began. He was in the Sex Pistols. Don't tell me the universe doesn't fucking show you your future. It fucking slams it right in front of your face. It tries to get you into a fucking airplane bathroom. And was I supposed to be impressed, I thought to myself? The Sex Pistols were awesome and all, but I'm not sure I would fuck any of them. That might be slumming in my groupie world, or so I thought at the time. He was sexy. He was good looking bloke, but and all but I just was creeped out by his gum chewing hello in which he strutted his body into my personal space. Did he think I was one of those waitresses from the Rainbow that would bend over in place of a tip? Oh no, I wouldn't do that. I would, however, do Steve Jones years later as a vendetta to a girl that had stabbed me in the back. He was a revenge. Only I didn't see that coming, and I stood there looking at the red lining in his leather jacket. I only saw the airport bar and wanted to get there, not the bathroom Steve had invited me to. So, yeah. That was the universe giving me a glimpse into my future. So, we went to LA. Shara fucked it all up because she brought that other guy. Like I said, ladies, if you're going to see another guy in a band, don't invite another one along. You want to get backstage? Don't take a guy to the concert or to the hotel bar. Go with other women. Go by yourself. Because she was jealous, like I said, and then she went and had to mute the phone, basically, and try and make us miss out on our good time. Fuck that. That's not cool. If you're pissed off because of your own actions, own your own actions. Don't try and ruin other people's. But we had a great time that New Year's Eve. Like, we had a blast with hanging out with the guys in Dangerous Toys. We're all over the fucking Sunset Strip. Met Marty Friedman before he was in Megadeth at the Burger King across from the hotel. Wandered down the Sunset, the Hollywood Boulevard. Like I said, I'll put pictures if I have them, if I can find them. I think I know where they are, but so yeah, had a good time. Met my future in the Las Vegas airport, and how ironic to meet Steve in the Las Vegas airport when I moved to Vegas and met him at the Hard Rock, that was 1990, 5 years later, and he was a vendetta. So never ever ever underestimate certain things where you have a feeling of deja vu, because I definitely did when I met Steve, had this feeling of deja vu. But all I could do was look on, like I said, he had a black leather jacket that had this red lining in it. And him and Fred Curry were wearing matching black cowboy hats, and Steve had really long, beautiful hair. But yeah, he was just kind of a little too much for me at the moment. And I was like, oh, he's in the Sex Pistols. No thanks, you've got cooties. Little did I know that 5 years later he would hit me like a ton of bricks. So there you guys go. There's a little bit more reading into the book. If you haven't got it, go down and get it. It's a really awesome, look into the 80s that isn't your typical rehashed stuff. There's not many real 80s ladies who are out there with the book. There is one from Texas that Desiree's coming back, but her name is Linda Cheswick, or I forget, but I'm going to try and get her onto the show because she hung around Pantera in the 80s. She wrote a book that came out in January, On the Road, Houston Groupies. I can't remember the name of it, but look her up. You guys, I'm going to read the book, and then I'd like to get her on the show because I'd like to hear her take on, a band that I was very close with, Pantera. I'd like to hear her adventures. But like I said, Desiree's coming back on. We're going to get Diana. We're getting current groupie on. I've got a lot of things going on. I was supposed to do an interview with the Behind the Curtain podcast over here on YouTube, but he kept blowing it off and rescheduling for people that he wanted more than me. Ladies, if a guy reschedules, whether it's a date, whether it's an interview, anything like that, somebody reschedules it 3 times, 3 strikes, you're out. I had to reschedule my filming schedule and rearrange my stuff to fit into his schedule. So, just didn't work out, but he still has some really great stuff. Watch it, you guys. He's a real cool kid, and he gets some really cool people on his channel. Maybe I'll go on. Maybe he'll have me on sometime later. I don't know, but right now, I had to tell him, thanks for your interest, but take care, because, yeah, I can only reschedule. I only have a couple days in the week to do what I do here. So, because like I said, I do have a full-time job. Everybody here knows that, and it's very, very demanding. So, yeah, and very mentally taxing at times. So when you have days off to do this and you have to keep rescheduling what I want to be doing for my channel, yeah, it kind of pissed me off a little. So, felt a little disposable. But so a lot of cool things coming up. I do have other interviews that I'm lining up. Thank you, Tina, for getting me down in Adelaide in Australia. I'll let you guys know when that's going on. So a lot of cool stuff coming and happening. Hopefully we're going to get this book signed for a movie, for a mini-series, for a full series. Who knows? But that's the goal here, you guys. So always keep sharing. If you like it, if you're just hanging around, become a member. You guys have really been outstanding and amazing at helping me expand this whole book, this channel. So truly, as always, thank you so much, Tina, all of you, for really expanding. For even the invitations, even though I never made it on Behind the Curtain, I thank you for even the interest, you know. So thank you guys for really, really being a huge part of helping us grow here, of this family becoming bigger and more badass by the day. So thank you guys so much. And if you're just haunted the channel, don't be afraid to become part of the family. Go down in the comments, have conversations with us. There's a lot of badass people here, and you guys, thank you as always. But go ahead, if you're just haunting, hit the share, hit the subscribe, become a member, hit my bells, and we'll see you next time on Cocktails and Rocktails. Cheers, big ears.